This is the second part of the How to Get a Girl series, Sigma Method. This is Sigma male secret to getting any girl. As if you understand the context, let's start the video. 1. Privacy is the priority. People often get intrigued by what they do not totally understand, especially for women. Ever thought why women like movies and stories more than men? They want mystery, something to play with. And actually, my philosophy is knowing that the relationship could end and love could fade anytime makes every single moment more valuable. Mystery has always been fascinating. The very word compels people to open up more of it. Where everyone seems to share everything, there is something mysteriously interesting about the idea of the self being partially concealed. Essentially, if you create a little mystery, then you're giving people a reason to be interested in you, and you are pulling them in, not by all that you tell them, but by all that you do not. The creation of mystery is not about hiding information or being uncommunicative. It is about not giving much information all at once. Instead of putting down all of who you are immediately, let stories, experiences, and ideas unfold and evolve. This approach is consistent with the principles of storytelling, telling only enough so as to capture the listener's interest, while leaving much unsaid to keep the listener interested. Mystery is always entwined between the concept of sharing and concealing. Psychologically, this principle connects to what's known as the Zeigarnik effect, Zeigarnik 1927, which states that people remember unfinished tasks or incomplete information better than completed ones. When we don't know everything about someone, our minds naturally linger, wanting to fill in the gaps. By sharing parts of yourself gradually, you engage this psychological effect, keeping people's interest and inviting them to get to know you on a deeper level. It's a subtle pull that leaves them wanting to understand the whole story. Mystery can also be a practice in restraint, which resonates with the teachings of Stoicism. The Stoic idea of apatheia, or freedom from passions, reminds us to remain centered and not rush into overwhelming emotions or actions. When you approach connections with patience, revealing only what's natural at the moment, you convey an inner calm and confidence. It's an indirect way of saying, I don't need to reveal everything to earn your interest. This self-assurance, rooted in patience and restraint, is powerful because it shows that you're grounded in your own value, not reliant on others' immediate approval. One way to cultivate mystery is through intentional storytelling. Instead of sharing a complete story, offer small details or intriguing hints, like mentioning a meaningful experience, without diving into every detail. Allow your stories to be like unfinished chapters that others are eager to continue. When you leave certain parts unrevealed, you're letting people imagine, wonder, and feel invested in discovering more. However, it's important not to confuse mystery with disinterest. Leaving room for curiosity doesn't mean withholding essential parts of yourself in a way that creates distance. Rather, it's about respecting the natural rhythm of connection, revealing and deepening in stages, allowing genuine curiosity to emerge. In the end, mystery is a way to create depth in a world that often moves too fast. Let your interactions be a slow burn rather than an instant reveal. Like a book you can't put down because each chapter hints at something more. And when others lean in to learn more about you, they're drawn not by any performance but by a sincere interest in who you are. So, let curiosity be your quiet companion, an unspoken invitation to discover and be discovered. Mystery doesn't ask for attention. It holds attention by leaving space for others to explore and understand you over time. In this way, you offer something rare, an interaction that doesn't give everything away, but offers just enough to inspire genuine intrigue. 2. Playfulness. Flirting, at its heart, should be a celebration of connection, a dance of mutual curiosity and lighthearted energy. It's easy to get wrapped up in methods, strategies, and philosophies. But at the end of the day, flirting should bring joy to both people involved. Embracing playfulness in your interactions brings out a natural, magnetic energy. When you approach flirting with a sense of fun, it becomes less about outcomes and more about enjoying the moment. Playfulness is an essential quality that keeps connections fresh, engaging, and genuine. By embracing a playful attitude, you create an atmosphere where both people feel comfortable enough to let down their guard. Playfulness doesn't mean losing sincerity. It means letting go of the weight of expectation. It's the spark that reminds us to live in the moment, to smile, and to make light of situations without fear of judgment. People are drawn to those who don't take themselves too seriously, who laugh freely and make others feel at ease in their presence. Psychologically, play theory suggests that playfulness has a profound impact on social interactions and relationship building. Studies have shown that shared laughter and play can reduce stress and deepen bonds, as it releases endorphins and strengthens feelings of trust and connection. Brown and Vaughan, 2009. Humor, in particular, is a social glue. When people laugh together, it signals a shared understanding, creating a sense of belonging. A well-timed joke or playful tease can lighten the mood and make interactions feel effortless and natural. This approach also aligns with the Stoic philosophy of viewing life's events with perspective and humor. The Stoics believed in facing challenges without becoming weighed down by them, finding strength and resilience and even humor in life's unpredictability. By approaching flirting playfully, you're essentially embracing the unpredictability of social interaction without allowing it to control you. You're signaling that while you value connection, you're not dependent on any specific outcome. This attitude makes your presence refreshing, magnetic, and free of pressure. In practical terms, a playful attitude might look like sharing a funny observation, teasing lightly about something innocuous, or bringing up a fun what-if scenario. These moments invite the other person into a shared experience, a small world where both can laugh and let their guard down. This kind of light-hearted connection often feels genuine because it's rooted in the present moment rather than future expectations. Instead of worrying about saying the right thing, focus on saying things that make you both smile, that make the moment enjoyable for its own sake. It's also important to balance playfulness with awareness. Not every situation calls for humor, and reading the other person's comfort level is key. Playfulness should always feel mutual. Respecting someone's boundaries is part of what makes playfulness feel light and enjoyable, and it's why self-awareness is an essential partner to a playful approach. Playfulness can also be an antidote to perfectionism, which often shows up in social interactions. People sometimes worry too much about making a perfect impression, saying the perfect thing, or being seen in the perfect light. Playfulness dissolves this pressure. It reminds us that connection isn't about perfection. It's about the authenticity that emerges when we're fully present, spontaneous, and unafraid of a little imperfection. So, let go of the need to impress and lean into the joy of the moment. Embrace the freedom of simply being yourself, imperfections and all. In doing so, you'll find that people are naturally drawn to you, not because you've followed a script, but because you're allowing space for real connection to grow. After all, people remember how you made them feel, and laughter, joy, and lightheartedness are unforgettable. Approach flirting as an art of bringing lightness to the moment. Allow yourself to enjoy the process, the little interactions, the exchange of smiles and glances. In these playful moments, you're building a connection that isn't defined by effort, but by shared enjoyment. So, flirt with joy, be genuine, and let the fun of connection unfold naturally. 3. Know when to switch poles. There's a subtle art to shifting between playfulness and depth, an ability to balance humor with moments of sincerity that allows you to create truly layered, memorable connections. This Balance requires attunement, a sense of when to let the conversation float in the light, fun spaces, and when to gently guide it into deeper waters. Knowing when to move from playful banter to meaningful conversation is about more than impressing someone. It's about showing that you're both engaging and emotionally present. Flirting through humor creates a relaxed, open space, but if you stay only on the surface, it can sometimes come off as emotionally distant or even immature. The key is to add depth, demonstrating that there's substance behind the laughter. It's in this blend of light and dark, humor and seriousness, that you reveal your ability to appreciate both the lighter and more meaningful aspects of life. Shifting from playfulness to depth is largely about timing and awareness. There's a psychological concept known as emotional attunement, which refers to the ability to sense and respond to another's emotional state. When you're emotionally attuned to someone, you can pick up on their cues and adapt accordingly. For instance, if you notice their laughter fading into quiet, reflective silence, this might be a cue to guide the conversation towards something more meaningful. Transitioning seamlessly requires sensitivity and a sense of presence, an ability to let go of a rehearsed approach and tune in to what feels right in the moment. The Stoics emphasized the importance of understanding life's dualities, finding strength in humor and depth alike. Marcus Aurelius taught that life contains both light and shadow, and it is in accepting this duality that we become wise. Translating this to human connection means honoring both the laughter and the serious conversations. In a way, showing you can handle both demonstrates emotional intelligence, a trait that's attractive because it suggests maturity, empathy, and a willingness to engage with life's complexities. Practically, this balance might look like following up a shared laugh with a thoughtful question that builds on what's been said. For instance, if you're joking about a quirky experience, you might smoothly transition by asking them if they've had any similar moments that shaped them. Or, if a playful tease has lightened the mood, you can transition by sharing a more reflective personal story that gives insight into who you are. These shifts, from light to deep, invite them to see a fuller picture of you, someone who enjoys the lighter side of life, but also values depth and connection. Another powerful tool here is vulnerability. Moving from humor to depth can involve sharing something honest about yourself, perhaps an opinion, an experience, or a thought that's meaningful to you. Vulnerability communicates that you trust the other person with something real and significant, and it invites them to open up in return. However, vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing or getting overly intense too quickly. Instead, it's about being real and honest without feeling the need to shield yourself behind humor. It's also valuable to know when to return to lightness. Sometimes a moment of depth can feel intense, and gently steering back to humor allows both people to reconnect in a relaxed way. Just as a conversation can become shallow if it's all jokes, it can feel heavy if it stays too deep for too long. Balance is key. When you can effortlessly navigate between these poles, you create a dynamic connection that keeps the interaction fresh and engaging. Switching between lightheartedness and depth also builds a sense of intrigue. It reveals layers to your personality, showing that you're complex and multidimensional. People are naturally drawn to those who can move between different emotional spaces, as it creates a feeling of novelty and discovery. In this way, you're subtly telling the other person, "There's more to me than meets the eye." Remember, knowing when to shift isn't about being strategic or manipulative. It's about being genuine and present. It's an intuitive process, guided by respect and a willingness to share both the laughter and the quieter, more reflective parts of yourself. This approach leaves room for an authentic, meaningful connection where both of you feel free to explore all sides of who you are. So, the next time you're sharing a light-hearted moment, trust yourself to sense when the moment is right to dive deeper. Let the humor set the stage for a conversation that allows both of you to reveal more, moving from laughter to insight in a way that feels natural. In doing so, you create an experience that's rich, balanced, and memorable, showing that beneath the surface lies a world worth exploring. 4. The empathy connection. Have you ever felt truly understood? Ever had that blessed moment when a person does not only understand what you have said, but also the feeling you portray? It's the ability to identify with another, and it is one of the deepest forms of connection. When we are empathetic, we give not only words, but emotions as well, which makes even simple communication a warm interaction. Empathy is the process of entering another person's skin, even as a tourist. It's about observing their struggles, their pleasures, their concerns with acceptance. Unlike sympathy, which may only recognize another's suffering, empathy is deeper. It says, while I didn't feel what you went through, I'm willing to hold you and feel it with you. Such a level of interaction is limited, and it helps people to feel protected, appreciated, and understood. Psychologists describe empathy in two forms: cognitive empathy and emotional empathy. Cognitive empathy involves knowing what a person is going through, while emotional empathy is to actually feel what the other person is feeling. Research proves that emotional empathy can truly form a stronger relationship because it entails an ability to feel with the other party rather than for the other party. It creates trust, which enables them to express themselves without the inhibitor because they identify with the speaker. But empathy is not as simple as it sounds. Empathy burnout is commonly explained as a state when constantly being in touch with another's feelings creates a state of fatigue. Thus, one should be empathetic, but also take proper care of oneself. As you offer empathy to other people, do the same thing to yourself. Sustaining such balance makes empathy constructive and can be a positive way of relating with other people. Philosophically, empathy aligns with the Stoic principle of cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are all part of a larger human family connected by shared experiences and emotions. Marcus Aurelius often wrote of seeing oneself in others, recognizing that despite our differences, we all experience joy, fear, love, and pain. This outlook fosters empathy naturally because it reminds us that beneath our outer layers, we share a common human essence. When you approach interactions with this perspective, you don't just sympathize with others. You understand them on a more profound universal level. Empathy, in this case, then can be observed as a form of the small actions in people's day-to-day interaction that say, I get it. These might be as basic as a nod, a wink, a slap on the back, a hug, or a pat on the head. A word of appreciation without seeking to solve someone's issue, or a question to show concern. Empathy doesn't need profound gestures. The biggest things can be said by the smallest gestures, but they can produce the greatest impact. As simple as, I can only imagine how that felt, or that sounds difficult. Could you tell me more? Can do wonders of making people feel heard. The thing that I consider critical for empathy is understanding when one needs to speak and when one should stay silent. I think not every conflict needs to have some kind of resolution or fix. It may sometimes is just about voice. What is meant by empathic listening is trying to allow for as much expression of themselves without interference or solutions. Such a presence, calm, waiting, and accessible, is one of the strongest illustrations of how to care. It proves that you're not passive, just expecting your turn to answer or contribute, but are actively listening to what they have to say. But when we start approaching people with empathy, we are actually asking them to come into our world and respect our perspectives. This does not equate to acceptance of all the things they say or do and don't. It implies understanding that people are human beings and willing to listen to them. This is because empathy is a way of overcoming differences, that make us blind to the fact that people are all members of the same race. So, the next time somebody trusts and tells you something or a part of their life, just pause and listen when you are responding. Do it with kindness and remember not to force anything on the person you are comforting. In that way, you are also giving a part of yourself as well, an opportunity for intimacy in a culture that is otherwise so impersonal. In this simple, sincere gesture, you are sealing a relationship that is beyond language. That speaks a language that is more profound, often the language of the heart. 5. Flirting through actions. Have you ever noticed how small gestures can speak volumes? When it comes to building attraction and connection, actions often say what words cannot. The art of expressing interest through thoughtful deeds is subtle yet impactful. Flirting through actions isn't about grand gestures or scripted moves. It's about showing genuine attentiveness in ways that reflect sincerity and thoughtfulness. These little actions create a foundation of respect and care that makes connections feel natural and effortless. When flirting through actions, therefore, it is all about presence, about observing and then responding actively. For instance, things as small as opening a door for someone, putting a coat on a woman on a cold night, or saying something as simple as, "You look beautiful today," feels like being genuine, at least to a woman. Each action, no matter how small, conveys a message. Sure, I do that to say, I'm listening, and your well-being matters to me. This relates to a psychological theory known as the Ben Franklin effect, Jecker and Landy, and is based on the idea that we are drawn to people that we have helped or killed time with, not matter how little time we spent on it. It is always helpful if you take the opportunity to do something right or for another person, because it always has a positive result. The receiver is being valued, and the doer is also getting closer because they have taken time to add value in the relationship. These actions do not have to be elaborate and could not be complex at all. What matters most is that they are well executed and planned. The life of the Stoics places solemnity in deeds more than in words. Stoicism celebrates such attributes like patience, integrity, and kindness, among others, by calling on individuals to practice what they preach, not merely saying it out. For instance, Marcus Aurelius preferred to state that people should be recognized for what they do, not for what they want to do or what they say. This philosophy is apt when it comes to flirting and actions, so that we let the actions do the talking rather than words. Authenticity. People can usually tell when gestures are insincere or overly performative, especially if she is my audience. Genuine interest doesn't need to be forced or excessive. It's in the simple things, like a kind smile, an attentive ear, or a respectful presence. These small, thoughtful gestures are ways of showing that you care without demanding attention. For example, noticing when someone is uncomfortable in a crowded room and subtly making space for them demonstrates consideration without a single word. Flirting through actions can also be a reminder of the value of showing up for people, especially in a world where attention is often divided. In these moments, it's not about doing everything right, but about being there and being present. By acting with intention and care, you're essentially creating a safe space where they feel valued and comfortable being themselves. It's also essential to remain aware of boundaries and read the other person's responses. Flirting through actions doesn't mean pushing past comfort levels or trying too hard. Subtlety is crucial here. It's about understanding that even a small act can speak loudly when it's done with genuine thoughtfulness. If someone isn't receptive, respect that boundary gracefully, and remember that sometimes the most caring action you can take is to step back. Ultimately, flirting through actions is about creating a connection that feels real and meaningful. It's an approach that values kindness, attentiveness, and a certain quiet confidence. Actions that are small, considerate, and respectful are often the ones that linger, building a connection rooted in authenticity rather than flashiness. So, let your actions speak, not to impress, but to express genuine interest and care. With each small gesture, you're not only showing interest, you're creating moments that matter. In a world where words often come easy, a little thoughtfulness goes a long way, leaving a lasting impression without saying much at all. 6. Knowing when to back off. In any interaction, recognizing and respecting boundaries is one of the most valuable skills we can cultivate. Knowing when to step back, especially in moments when interest is unreturned, is essential for genuine, healthy connections. Backing off isn't about rejection or defeat. It's about respecting someone's autonomy and comfort while preserving your self-respect and integrity. Backing off gracefully requires attunement to subtle social cues, which are often non-verbal. These cues might look like limited eye contact, a neutral tone, or a lack of reciprocity in conversation. Sometimes the signs can be as simple as someone leaning away, crossing their arms, or giving short, closed responses. Psychologically, the study of nonverbal communication highlights that more than half of human communication is nonverbal. Mehrabian, 1971. These small signals can reveal far more than words, giving insight into whether someone feels comfortable and engaged or distant and uninterested. This principle aligns with the idea of respecting boundaries, a concept deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Stoics believe that people are autonomous, free to choose their responses and desires. Marcus Aurelius often noted that we should not try to control others, but rather focus on our actions and reactions. Recognizing when someone isn't reciprocating interest allows us to act with dignity and maturity. It's a reminder that we're not owed anyone's attention or affection, and true respect lies in valuing their choices as we value our own. Backing off respectfully also reinforces self-respect. When we chase after someone uninterested, we erode our own dignity by placing their validation above our self-worth. This doesn't mean we shouldn't express interest or be vulnerable, but it does mean we should approach connections with a balance of openness and respect for ourselves and the other person. Allowing space for the other person's feelings to unfold at their own pace, or respecting their disinterest, demonstrates inner confidence and resilience. One powerful psychological aspect to consider here is the principle of reciprocity. People tend to mirror the level of engagement and energy they receive. If someone isn't mirroring your interest, it's usually a clear sign to give them space. Pushing beyond this can create discomfort, even tension, which can harm not only the immediate interaction, but any potential future connection. When we respect their cues, we leave space for a more comfortable, natural bond to develop if it's meant to be. However, knowing when to back off isn't just about reading cues. It's about how we respond internally. Rejection or lack of interest can sting, but when viewed with a Stoic perspective, it's an opportunity to build resilience and self-awareness. Epictetus taught that the only thing within our control is our response. By accepting what we cannot change, others' feelings or reactions, we focus on nurturing our own strength. We learn to see setbacks, not as failures, but as moments of growth, refining our ability to move forward with poise. Backing off also builds trust. When someone feels that you respect their boundaries, they're more likely to view you as a safe and understanding presence, someone who values them as an individual rather than as an object of interest. This respect lays the foundation for genuine connection, where people feel they can engage openly without feeling pressured or pursued. If there's one takeaway, it's this. Knowing when to back off is as much a sign of confidence as pursuing interest. It demonstrates that you value not just the connection, but also the other person's comfort and freedom. You're showing that you're secure enough in yourself to walk away when the situation calls for it, rather than needing someone else's validation to feel whole. So, embrace the moments when stepping back is the right choice. Let go with grace, understanding that respect for others' boundaries is also respect for yourself. In this space of mutual respect and freedom, true connections can flourish naturally. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is the one that involves walking away. Now I must recommend you the first part of this video. It should be appearing right on your screen. Peace.